Good morning. The Dayton City Commission meeting will now come to order. Would you all please rise for the invocation and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance, which will be given by Commissioner Beckham this morning.
Thank you,
The
ma'am.
invocation, excuse me.
Dear Lord, thank you for this day. Thank you for the opportunity to serve. We ask that you continue to lead us as we attempt to lead this city. We ask for wisdom, clarity, provision, as we deal with the issues that so many other cities are also grappling with. In your name we pray, amen.
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 I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Good morning, Ms. McClendon. May we please have a roll call?
Mayor Turner-Sloss.
Aye.
Commissioners Joseph, Shaw,
Aye.
Fairchild,
Aye.
Beckham.
Aye.
May I please have a motion to excuse the absence of Commissioner Joseph, please?
So moved, Your Honor.
Second the motion, Your
It
Honor.
has been properly moved and seconded to excuse the absence of Commissioner Joseph. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. May I have a motion to approve the minutes of the March 18, 2026 meeting?
So moved, Your Honor.
Second.
It has been properly moved and seconded to approve the minutes of the March 18, 2026 meeting. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Ms. McClendon, are there any communications or petitions this morning?
There are none, Your Honor.
Thank you. This morning, we have a monthly demolition update. I'd like to call Mr. Steve Gondel to the podium, please.
Good morning, Mayor, Commissioner, City Manager, Ms. McClendon. Steve Gondel, Director for the Department of Planning, Neighborhoods, and Development, with your Dayton Recovery Plan Demolition Monthly Update for the month of February 2026. Last month, we saw 20 demolitions occur in our city. All of those were under our ARPA contract. To date, that has equated to 33 demolitions, also all funded through the ARPA-funded demolitions. Our fire pile progress remains the same. We ended January where we started with 22. We have not removed any. We have not had any added in February, which is good. And again, reminding from last month that the team is drafting a new contract for the removal of the fire piles to happen in 2026. We're working through processing our CDBG demolitions and some ODODs, but that is going to be part of also our 26 work plan is a new fire pile removal contract.
Repeat that. I'm sorry. I want to make sure I'm tracking. Could you repeat your last sentence, please?
Yeah, so what they're working on right now is teeing up our demolitions in Burkhart and in Westwood using our CDBG funds, which we've kind of paused that to use the ODOD and ARPA because they were time sensitive. So they've been focused on that, and then they're going to move to draft a new contract because we have actually fulfilled all of the previous pile contracts, and so we're going to draft a new one to address the remaining properties and any new ones that come on.
Do you know when we should see that come in?
I will get with the team to kind of
Okay.
get a timeline on when we might expect that.
All right. Thank you.
As I mentioned, good news. We had no emergency demolitions in the month of February, either for fire or for blight or not blight, fire or structural deficiencies. So that is encouraging. Our 20 demolitions, here they are occurring throughout the city. We had one demolition in Roosevelt neighborhood, one in the Twin Towers area, 2 in the Five Oaks, 2 in the Santa Clara neighborhood, and 14 in the Southern Dayton View neighborhood. To date, our demolitions, 33 have occurred, 1 in the McFarland neighborhood, again, 1 in Twin Towers, the 2 in the Five Oaks, 3 in the Roosevelt neighborhood, 7 in the Santa Clara neighborhood, and 19 in the Southern Dayton View. And that is for January and February.
Thank you for breaking that down. I really appreciate
Yeah, I know.
you highlighting
I
that
kind of,
neighborhood.
I asked the team
a good
while they
put.
map it to start giving that neighborhood so that we can kind of see, we can see it, but to actually have that count, because when you look as the year to date, as you all know, it starts getting populated pretty big, and so having that kind of breakdown by neighborhood is really helpful to all
Great
of us to
job.
keep track.
Thank you.
Okay. Our properties added to the structural nuisance list in February, there was 19. 14 of those were houses with 2 garages, so we have to identify them separately, but the 2 garages were associated with 2 houses that were on that list. And then 3 commercial properties. 14 of those were for blight, 5 were for fire. So again, reminding everybody that when a structure experiences a fire, but it's not severe enough that we have to do an emergency demolition, we'll often then put that in a structural nuisance because it has been damaged enough to where it needs to be properly repaired or through our building services group. So that's where moving those properties onto this list versus probably the emergency demo list. Our pipeline, so we had a pretty quiet January, as I noted, where there's nothing, but now we've kind of, you'll see we're ramping up. We had 127 title reports completed. We had 88 asbestos surveys completed and 16 asbestos remediations completed in the month of February. And the breakdown of that was, of the asbestos surveys, 38 of those were for the ODOD, the state funding. 50 of those were for the ARPA focused demolitions. And on the asbestos remediations, 16 of those were for ARPA-related demolitions or pending demolitions. And some before and afters from last month. 626 Cambridge, kind of an interesting before and after, snow, no snow, difference a few weeks makes. 215 Rockwood. 269 Huck, and so I just wanted, for anybody that knows the area in the Twin Towers, this is looking south towards Xenia, and what you might not realize is that property, while it faces Huck, it had a lot of overgrown vegetation going towards Xenia. And again, what I love about our demolition is that not just the house, but we take out all brush and trees, especially trees under 6-inch diameter, and so a significant amount of brush was also removed from that, kind of opening up visually that corner there. So what you're looking on the right is looking towards the properties along Xenia, looking south. And then 926 Windsor. And again, here's an example where, remove the property, but, that tree obviously exceeds 6 inches, but also it was not if we don't feel that the tree is going to contribute to additional blight or concern, we leave them there. And so, because it's a significant expense, but our team does look at each and every one of those, whether do we need to also remove this, which then we have to put on as like an additional, but this is one where the tree was healthy, it wasn't impeding anything else or in danger of damaging anything else. And then lastly, so I'm going to be using this every month. So where are we? So of our 33, as I noted, those are going toward those, what we believe are budgeted and 120 ARPA-funded demolitions for the year. So all of our work so far has been on those ARPA contracts. As we move forward, though, you will start seeing more of the ODODs coming on, and then eventually the CDBGs coming on. So the one thing I probably don't have on here is, we'll probably add is any general funded demolitions, which might be the fire pile. So I will add that once we kind of figure out what money we have, what we think we can tackle, the volume on that. So that'll probably be one addition. But we are going to probably expend every single penny of our ARPA funds by the end of the year, and we have 10 months to do that on the ARPA work. So with that, I'll cease my remarks and take any questions or comments you all might have.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Commissioner Beckham.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you, Mr. Gondel. Always appreciate your comprehensive report. I'm also encouraged by the fact that there were no emergency demos, so glad to see that, and appreciate the additional detail. So thanks again.
You're welcome.
Commissioner.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Gondel. This is one of my favorite reports that we get, and it's great to see the progress. I was curious on the fire piles. It's great that we haven't had fire piles. I know we've had homes that were fire damaged. Do we have a total on how many houses are fire damaged? And then what's the path for those homes that are fire damaged?
So good question. So on that, not everything that falls into that structure, like on the fire damage, does actually hit our responsibility. So if If a homeowner's property burns and they have insurance, it may be on that list, but it might come off once they do the repairs. And so I would have to have my team pull that to see, of the fire damage structural nuisance, how many of those, and how we kind of know that is their insurance company will send an escrow to the city, and that tells us, one, they had insurance, and two, we hold that, and then if they complete that repair, or if it's so bad, if they complete a demolition up to our standards, we release that fund back to the owner. And so I will try to get that number to get a clearer thing is how many of these fire damage are going to kind of maybe fall into our responsibility versus how many are actually being addressed by a responsible party, homeowner or business or insurance company.
Are there any homes that end up in some kind of zombie state where the escrow amount isn't enough to do what needs to be done? The homeowner says, I'll just take the loss, and so we've got a home there that's not being addressed. We've got funds that can't address all the needs, and it's in some limbo.
Absolutely. So we have had situations where, let's say the cost of demolition is $20,000, maybe the escrow is 10 or 15. There's obviously a deficit there, but for us, if we're having to use general funds to remove that, we at least get some compensation, whether it's the $10,000 or $15,000. It may not always cover that, but for us, it at least minimizes our expense, and we put that right back into the removal. So it does happen, but in those situations, we do have the escrow to hold.
Okay. Yeah, I would like to see maybe in next month's report kind of that level of the structural nuisance, because I can think of a couple of properties, some of them pretty visible, like the one down on Smithville, right at the edge of Kettering. It's been there, I think, maybe a year. It's not clear anything's happening with that. I think there's one on 1010 Bel Air, which is right next to the house I grew up in, so I'm mindful of it. It was damaged a while ago and still sits there damaged. So I'm curious how many of those homes we have out there that are damaged, and then and what paths we have to either code enforce the owners if they're responsible, or get them into the queue for demolition if appropriate.
And that's something we look at. We have a number of steps. We look to see if it's on escrow. We look to see if we've had communication. If we do hit that state, there's no communication, there's no escrow, we will then initiate the code enforcement and also alert our building services to where don't release any permits until they come in and start addressing the structural nuisance. But kind of keeping an eye on it. And I know Commissioner Joseph has also pointed out, especially a number of those on Smith in that general area as well, because there's not they really stand out, especially on their location. So I will look into kind of providing that information to the city manager to get to you all.
Sure. And can we look at the slide with the structural nuisance list? What's the total number of structural nuisance?
Oh, I do not have that on here. I don't know if I had reported that. This was just the running list today. That'd be another thing I'd have to provide the city manager with. I would probably, from what you've already requested, it would just be part of that. The whole list. How many of those are structural? How many of those are fire? And then whether we have recourse through escrow. So
that'd be great. And I'm curious what steps we took to mitigate. We added 476. Maybe was that the year we did the survey and we captured a whole new group of them? Mm-hmm. Okay. Because it looks like we're trending up for this year. If we project 37 out for the rest of the year, we're going to be up to 140 or some. So I was curious what mitigation steps we take to try to prevent properties from ending up on the nuisance list.
Like I said, we look at a number of factors, whether, responsible party. Structural nuisance is pretty significant, but again, if they qualify, because I don't want to just say we send everything to the home repair network, because sometimes this is pretty significant.
Right.
But we do look to see, have we initiated conversations with the owner? Have we taken all the official steps with notifying them our expectations? Do we believe there's a path out of there, or do we believe there's a path, like it's probably going to lead to demolition based off the severity of it? Because, again, not everything in structural nuisance is headed for demolition, but right. it's a degree of blight or damage, and so it kind of varies on how many of those. But that's just kind of looking at the list, looking at where the properties are, and then the other thing is When a property is on structural nuisance, we actually don't, when we do our housing condition survey, we actually don't survey that because it's already in that. Like for us, if you're on structural nuisance, it doesn't, I mean, I'm not going to come in and put you on structural nuisance and then say you're a 2 or a 3. It's, you're in a, you must repair or demolish it. So we have them skip those because we already have those accounted for.
And you anticipated my last question, where we are with the survey and
Yeah.
and do we anticipate adding a significant number like we did in 24 onto the nuisance list?
So, I mean, this is real time. This is running. So anything, we are down, they have surveyed over 60,000 structures and lots. So one of the things that we added this year was we also have an accounting for vacant lots as well, just as we're building our GIS database. And so they're down to just a handful of kind of pockets that they are, we're doing daytime operations, some limited overtime during the week, and then some designated Saturdays with teams to just kind of flood those areas to get it done. Knock on wood, I think we're done with snow events. So we believe that, they're back on a routine pace where we're doing almost 5 to 6 days of it, but close to, close to probably wrapping it up here in the next week or 2.
And lastly, thinking about this whole thing comprehensively, do we have a number of how many properties are actually vacant? Some of those would be on the nuisance list, but others may not, so.
That's something we'll have to look at, again, from our working group around the data, is some of the factors that we use to kind of determine a vacancy, to get a sense of, because again, I'm really, the work that they're doing out there, collecting this data using GIS through a mobile app, we're able to also then identify some other kind of observe. They can observe if something looks vacant, but that's not the only, there's a number of other factors that we're going to look at to see, is there an ongoing vacancy there that we could then probably get an understanding of maybe what is our percentage of all these properties now that we believe to have some level of vacancy based off of a number of data criteria. And that's going to come with the completion of the survey and our review of the data. And it's more than just P&D. We have M&B staff, Public Works GIS staff, and some other partners kind of looking at that, trying to get a better sense. And I think as we're building on this survey, 2004 is great because we hadn't done it in a while. 2006 is even better because the thoroughness of it, the implementation of GIS, which allows us to add layers in, and also our team is, most of them have 2 more years under their belt, so they're really fine-tuning their assessment skills. So really excited to see when they're completed, what we're looking at, and some data sets that we can get out of there.
Awesome. Is there ability to match your survey with water connections? Mm-hmm. Okay,
yeah,
great.
That's one of the data sets that we layer in to see if we can get we can identify maybe if something is vacant or occupied.
Thank you.
Sure.
Appreciate it.
Welcome.
Good stuff.
Thank you, Commissioner Shaw.
Well, Commissioner covered a lot of ground there, so I have no questions. Just thank you for the update. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. As always, I appreciate the update, and please extend our appreciation to the entire team and the staff. I do have a couple of pain points, if you will.
Yeah.
The 300 block of Westwood, there are a number of structures that are literally caving in. So if you could provide us with an update to Ms. Dixteen so that she can shift that over to us, that would be greatly appreciated. And then I know there's been some attention in the past to Ferguson and Faulkner and the southern Dayton View area. But again, there are a number of properties on Faulkner and Ferguson that needs attention.
Okay.
So again, thank you very much. And I really appreciate you adding that level of detail. It's
thank
great
you.
information. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you all.
Ms. McClendon, are there any additions, deletions, or comments to the calendar?
There are none, Your Honor.
Thank you. Ms. Dixon, are there any additions, deletions, or comments to the calendar?
Your Honor, I have no additions or deletions to this morning's calendar. I do have a few I would like to highlight. So item B3 is a grant agreement for the Center City Residential LLC. This is our home developer agreement that will provide $2 million of funding towards the construction of the 121 residential apartments in the Center City building. This project is over $120 million in investment in downtown, and this $2 million grant agreement will secure 10 units that for home, 7 of which will be fully accessible, and 3 of which will be visual hearing impaired accessible. So this is our first or second agreement that's coming forward. As you know from the briefing, there's a total of $10 million invested into this through a variety of different funding mechanisms. So there will be another 1 or 2 agreements coming before you as they work towards closing here in the next 30 days. Item B5 is a service agreement with Sandvik Architects for $72,500. This is, the Sandvik Architect Group is out of Cleveland. They are renowned for adaptive reuse architecture. They do a lot of, they've done a lot of historical redevelopment up in Cleveland, and they have come down and done work for us as we have had large-scale projects. We have them under contract to explore the reuses for the 34 North Main Street. It will go hand in hand with the task force that Congressman Turner has set up to look at that building. It's a similar approach to what we did with Arcade, where we study the demolition of a building and then we study the redevelopment of the building, and we have to have expertise in both camps so that there's a comprehensive, very well-informed discussion to come forward with recommendations as to whether something comes down or whether something is pursued for development. So we are excited to be bringing that forward so that so that Sandvik can provide that historical character analysis. They will review the structural and exterior envelope analysis that's already been done on that building. They will provide conceptual design and floor layout, and then similar project analyses as well as preliminary historic preservation services. So we're excited about that contract coming forward. Item B6 is an award of contract to Archon Builders. This is for our East Patrol Division's North Renovations project. It's a $5.2 million project with a completion date of April 30th, 2027. We had to go to bid twice for this because the first bid had 0% MBE goal achieved, and there has already been a PLA executed because it's over the $2 million threshold, and that is also included in this award of contract for approval today. And then finally, item number 9 is an informal resolution accepting the 2026 recommendations of the Tax Incentive Review Council. I believe Commissioner Shaw still sits on that Turk body.
I do. Unfortunately, though, I was out of town for that meeting.
Okay. So this reviews all of our basically tax abatement kinds of tools. Every year we have to review it with the county auditor, and our program recommendations have 6 TIF projects, 6 EZ projects, and then our CRA program, which has a residential and a commercial component. Our TIF agreements essentially leveraged $154 million in investment and created or retained 1,168 jobs. Our EZ agreements leveraged $106 million of investment and created or retained 1,240 jobs. Our CRA program resulted in 184 residential projects that leveraged $261 million of investment throughout our neighborhoods where the CRAs exist, and then 32 commercial and industrial projects that leverage $700 million of investment and 4,742 jobs. A large component of our commercial CRAs includes the airport, as they have pre-94 CRA. So that is, so it captures all of that development and ongoing investment at the Dayton International Airport. So that is all I have this morning.
Thank you, Ms. Dixon.
Yes.
Ms. McClendon, are there any citizens that are registered to speak this morning?
There are no citizens registered to speak on calendar items.
Thank you. Commissioners, are there any comments on the city manager's recommendations? Commissioner Beckham.
Just thank you for bringing some of these key items forward. Certainly glad to see the investment in some of the major blighted and vacant real estate downtown. So glad about that. Congratulations to the police department moving forward on East Pod. It's good to see, knowing that the new West Pod is underway. Lastly, mostly very, very eager to see Phase 4 of the Salem Avenue rebuild. So I'm glad that is in here this morning as well. So those are all my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Fairchild.
Yeah, just a couple questions. On number 5, the Sadvik architect, in that study, will that include a business plan? I'm just curious who the potential users are.
It will include conversations around development pro forma, because it will identify the resources that can be brought forward for redevelopment. And we will have, we have conversations right now going on with developer groups who are interested, and there's 1 or 2 groups that are looking at that building right now, and we may have more after we are able to put out more information.
And would there be something that would distinguish that space separate from like the Stratacash building that's right next door, or the Mead building right across the street that has significant space, vacancy space?
Yeah, it would not be, office wouldn't be reconsidered. It would be housing, redevelopment, mixed use, first floor, retail, like it had. Remember there was a Quiznos there for a number of years. It has a light well that drops down to the 3rd or 4th floor, so you can get natural light in every unit. So that's a real attractive component. It also makes it less dense with regards to housing, but yes, it would be a redevelopment, reuse, and we'd look at those kinds of uses.
And it wouldn't include office? I mean, because many of our reuses that bring residential, we also do office within them, and then...
It depends. That's a market-driven conversation as far as what the developer feels comfortable with. With our office vacancy right now, as well as the lower demand for office space because of work from home shifts still, it would probably be unlikely that there would be office. There might be a work-live space that's a little different than office, but that's really a market developer-driven conversation.
Okay. Because, it goes back to a broader conversation that we had recently around how do we activate all this office space that we have downtown, and the strategies that we're employing to attract additional people into that space. So it'd be helpful if we can see whatever that plan is in light of the broader conversation around including people into trying to reduce those vacancy rates in downtown in terms of office space. I'm going to reserve the opportunity to ask some questions around the Incentive Review Council. I just had some general ones today. As you know, the supporting documents came a little late, so I didn't get into them as much as I probably would have liked to.
They're largely the same as they were last year, because we haven't added new projects.
Yeah. Who makes up the council?
It's defined by the ORC. There are representation from the commission. There is representation from the administration, treasurers who who represent the school districts impacted are at the table, as well as the county auditor and his staff.
Okay. Because like on the CRA, I noticed we're at 100. Everything's at 100%. Who verifies that? Because the council doesn't have staff, right? Is it the city?
No, the Economic Development Department manages all of the abatement projects.
Okay. And then I think like one property I did see on the report was the old Bierman property, I believe, which was that Reynolds and Reynolds originally. So What I couldn't track in the report was the incentives that Reynolds and Reynolds got. And then when they...
The Reynolds and Reynolds didn't, the company itself, the incentive that came with Reynolds and Reynolds was the TIF that generated and went back into the structure. Every TIF is structured differently. This particular one went back because that was a redevelopment led by Citywide Development Corporation. Reynolds and Reynolds was the tenant, so the TIF was structured to go back into the project, the real estate, and pay for the debt on the building because it was owned by Citywide initially.
And what commitments were made to secure that TIF? Like retain jobs, attract new jobs?
Investment, it was an 11, I believe, this is going back in my Wayback Machine, but it was around $11 million investment to reposition that building from the retail that it was to the office that it became, office space it became. So there was a job commitment, there was a project investment that typically comes with that.
And who was responsible for the job commitment?
Reynolds and Reynolds would make a commitment through Citywide.
And so then when they leave, do we call back because they didn't fulfill the job commitment?
In some cases, there are clawbacks in early years. In this particular case, because it was I think Reynolds and Reynolds left after 5 years, there was not a clawback, and that building went on to serve attract other jobs between the advanced area on aging, AAA, whatever that is, right? And CareSource went into there for a number of years. So many times when we are positioning, investing into buildings, we think of it as we are stabilizing our office inventory so that there is opportunity when a company outgrows a space or should need to leave the space. We have new space to market, and that building up until recently was very productive with regards to jobs.
And they had the same number of jobs as what Reynolds and Reynolds would have had in that space?
At one point in time, I think they had more when CareSource was in there before they consolidated.
Okay. Because I'm just trying to track, we made an agreement, 20 years ago?
Right.
It's at 100%, but we don't have the same number of jobs in there now as when we made that agreement.
When we do our analysis and we look at our paybacks, we enter into 20 and 30-year agreements with these. We're looking at the first 2 to 5 years because we know our crystal ball doesn't work much past 2. It gets really murky at 5. So we are justifying the investments on the shorter and front end of that agreement because we know of the long tail.
Okay, great. Thank you. It's helpful.
Yeah, thank you for that clarification. I'm going to go back to 34th North Main Street. So I get where you're coming from with the reducing vacancy rates. Housing also reduces vacancy rate in those buildings. So it's not just office space that reduces that number, which is incredibly important in a city like ours. And then with the TIF, and again, I apologize, I was not able to attend that meeting. Did they report out the ratio, the return on the investment? Last time it was 13-to-1. Generally, it's about 10-to-1 ratio. These TIFs have been very successful in encouraging development and supporting that investment.
I don't have that. I don't have that at my fingertips, but we do report that out in our development updates, and one is coming up here in a few weeks.
Okay, I'll dive into that further. I was not able to open up those documents on my phone, but I am interested in finding out if it's. I'm sure.
They all overperformed, because again, the state, and these are also state applications, particularly for the CRA. They are encouraged to put realistic, conservative numbers in place. because of, and the state EZ program and CRA is more about real estate investment. That it's not about, the jobs are there, but it really is about the investment in commercial activity in the state. That's their number one priority.
Right.
And they always overperform.
Right. That's
by and
been my
large.
experience with that as long as I've been on the Turk Council. But,
Right.
well,
I can tell you just from the summary memo, let's see, EZ projects, thought they would create 118 jobs, and there's 1,240 full-time equivalent jobs, right, in 2025. So it is always a high overperforming in both investments and jobs, typically.
that's right. And yeah, I appreciate you kind of delineating it. This is not meant to track them over the course of 30 years necessarily. It is centered on recapturing our investments in the short run. So I'm glad you pointed that out. I think that's all I have. Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner. I just have a couple of questions. I would too like to highlight, and thank you rather, for highlighting some of the various different service agreements that you mentioned, in particular B3 and B6. Kudos to noting the PLA, the Project Labor Agreement. I know this is something that was hard fought for, so I'm glad to see this. Thank you very much. And it was very refreshing to see a number of the building trades unions that they have signed off, and they are fully committed. So kudos to you and the staff, as well as to my colleagues, for us coming and being able to push that forward. And then I have a question in regards to, I just want to pull on that thread a little bit, the informal resolution for accepting the recommendations for the Tax Incentive Review Council. Could we ensure that those reports are in fact uploaded to the site?
Yeah, it was an oversight that I didn't catch until Monday morning, that it didn't go out and pack it. I had instructed them to go out and pack it, because we typically send them ahead of time.
Yes.
And we will make sure that they get put on the site.
Thank you. Then one of the things that I noted too, and we can definitely take this offline, but in reviewing the report, it mentioned PSA manufacturing or maintenance hangar. And I guess I'm really trying to get an understanding as to why it still highlighted PSA maintenance hangar, because of, their execution, if you will, or they're leaving the site itself.
They didn't leave the maintenance hangar. It was their headquarter jobs that went to their North Carolina. The maintenance stayed, and the maintenance is not planning to move, and the maintenance was, the maintenance hangar was the CRA project.
Got it. Okay, thank you. Because I thought I had read somewhere too that because you're right, I remember that the headquarters, but then I thought that there was additional information that came out that they said that they were going to remove the maintenance hangar.
No, they are committed to keeping their maintenance hangar here.
Okay, all right. I want to have a conversation with you about that offline. We want to make sure they stay for the next 20, 30 years. So we want to find some way to ensure that. But thank you for bringing these recommendations before us. I really appreciate it. May I please have a motion to approve the city manager's recommendations?
I move to adopt the city manager's recommendations.
And I'll second that.
It has been properly moved and seconded to approve the city manager's recommendations. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Legislation, Ms. McClendon.
First reading ordinance number 32180-26, amending Chapter 153 of the Revised Code of General Ordinances of the City of Dayton to abolish the City of Dayton Board of Building Appeals and redirect appeals to the State of Ohio. Informal resolution number 1016-26, accepting the 2026 recommendation of the Tax Incentive Review Council.
Your Honor, I move for the immediate adoption of informal resolution number 1016-26.
Second the motion, Your Honor.
It's been properly moved and seconded to adopt informal resolution number 1016-26. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no.
That concludes legislation, Your Honor.
Thank you. Ms. McClendon, are there any citizens that are registered to speak this morning?
Your Honor, there are 2 citizens registered to speak. I would like to state there is a 3-minute time limit. As you address the commission, we ask that you state your name and address for the record. At that time, I will turn on the green light. When the green light comes on, you will have 3 minutes to speak. After you have spoken 2.5 minutes, a yellow light will come on. You will have 30 seconds remaining to speak. When the red light comes on, you will be asked to cease your comments and to take your seat. To the audience in attendance, please be mindful this is a business meeting, and we kindly request that during this portion of the meeting, you refrain from any hand clapping, finger snapping, and conversation that would prevent the City Commission from hearing speakers' comments. I call to the podium Paul Kerrigan.
Good morning, everyone. Paul Kerrigan,
Good morning.
1525 Pershing Boulevard. I'm here again, about a month after the installation of the speed signs on our street, Pershing, part of the hill. That's been a problem that you saw the data from the survey that was implemented by our police department, maybe the city manager. I don't know who started that. It has brought us here. And last time I was here, the week after those were posted, you weren't here, so I didn't get to thank you. I got to thank everybody else, so thank you. I'm real appreciative of it. I'm sure the whole street is. To give you an update, the police had a daily presence on that street anywhere from 10 to 30 minutes each day up until last week. So it was in the morning, midday, late afternoon. Sometime they were sitting there throughout the day and they had their lights on. That has brought down the traffic through that street dramatically. I can't give you a figure on it, at least 40%, if not more. Instead of every 30 seconds or 10 seconds, a car screaming down the hill, it's now about every 5 to 10 minutes. And in the morning, when it used to be everybody screaming to work all over the place, there's not much traffic at all. I'm sure there's officers sitting out there wondering, what the hell am I doing here? There's nobody driving by. People had stopped coming down that street as a result of those signs and the police presence. Well, it's holding on. I just want to say it's holding on. This weekend with the weather out, there was a lot more people speeding up and down that hill. I'm hoping that was a short-term thing, but those signs seem to have had an impact on people's speed. They're seeing it, they're slowing down. You can see them slow down, so they're responding to it. The other problem that we had was the excessive number of people using that street as their main thoroughfare to get through the southeast quadrant of Dayton. That was a big problem. 6,500 people went through there 2 weeks, as you saw on the report. That was ridiculous. It still has more traffic than any other street in that neighborhood by a long shot. But that's the nature of that street. It gets you from point A to point B in a very efficient way. And some people aren't going to drop that ever. But it's come down a lot. It has changed that neighborhood, and I'm so thankful. We're all so thankful. So not only do people come here to complain to you, they come here to thank you, and I'm thanking you again. And I'm going to keep coming back here as much as I can to give you updates, because I don't think this is going to hold, because it went on for 20-plus years. It's going to come back. That's my fear. So when it does, I'll be back here again complaining like I was in the beginning. But I don't want to do that. Thank you again, everybody. Oh, I want to say to these police officers that are coming, I appreciate what they're doing. I know that they've been pulled off this and they're needed elsewhere, and that's okay. I just don't want them to leave us abandoned like they did before. Please come back and patrol our street once or twice or 3 times a week, I will hope. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Kerrigan. Thank you.
I call to the podium Yusuf El Zain.
Good morning, Mayor, Commissioner, City Manager.
Good morning.
Congratulations, City Clerk. My name is Yusuf El Zain, 4906 Amberwood Drive, Dayton, Ohio. As I stand before you this morning, more weeping mothers in Palestine, Lebanon, and Iran are burying their children. They are burying their doctors, their nurses, and aid workers who should never be targets in a war. This is my 3rd appearance, and it will continue before you with the same message. And each week, the situation grows worse. The human cost rises. The violence expands, and the world moves closer to normalizing war crimes, moves further from dialogue and closer to prolonged generational conflict. Yes, I use the word generational, it matters here. The decisions being made today will be inherited by generation who had no voice in making them. Our children and grandchildren will carry the fiscal weight of sustained military and financial commitments to foreign entities already reflected in the latest federal government's own financial report that was issued last week. They will also inherit environmental damage because war is one of the greatest drivers of ecological destruction, poisoning land like is happening in South Lebanon and Palestine, and they will inherit whatever precedent we set by our actions or lack of, and by our silence. Which brings me to something happening right here in our own city. This city has declared genocide morally unacceptable, yet our economic choices raises serious moral questions. Every contract is a policy statement. Every incentive extended is a choice. Fiscal responsibility cannot mean directing public resources toward partnerships that raise serious moral questions while our own communities go underserved. I'm not asking Dayton to be adversarial. I'm asking Dayton to be consistent. The resolutions and the recruitment cannot be true at once. Dayton is not just a city. So I'm going to move on. The question now is whether Dayton's action will match its word. How does Dayton wish to be remembered? As a city that remains silent, or as a city that chooses to lead? I urge you to take the next step, review the city economic relationships, issue a public communique, or join the Greater Dayton Peace Coalition in holding a peace summit. We're planning one. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Housing.
That is all, Your Honor.
Thank you, Ms. McClendon. Ms. Dixteen, do you have any closing comments?
No, Your Honor, I do not. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dixteen. Ms. McClendon, do you have any closing comments?
I have none, Your Honor.
We have a work session, right? Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. So after the meeting today, there will be a work session held in the PRC directly after the meeting.
Thank you,
Your
Ms.
Honor.
McClendon. Thank you. Commissioners, do you have any closing comments? Commissioner Beckham.
Yes, Your Honor. Just want to thank Mr. Kerrigan and Mr. Alzine for coming out. The comments, Mr. Kerrigan specifically, appreciate the in real-time update. Please continue to come back and let us know how things are going. I appreciate that. I want to thank the University of Dayton's Black Law Student Association. I had the honor of keynoting their Joseph Cinquay banquet over the weekend. Enjoyed that opportunity, and I want to congratulate Judge Wortham, who was awarded with a very deserving recognition that night as well. Lastly, if you haven't taken the Adapt Dayton survey as we're updating our zoning code, I do encourage you to do that. I'm not sure when it closes, the survey, but it seems to still be open. So if you are interested in being a part of that process, please take the survey. You simply just visit adaptdayton.com. Thanks. Those are all my comments.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Fairchild.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Kerrigan, Mr. Alzine, for the comments, and citizens who've come out for this important work. One of the good fortune I have in working at Dayton Children's is I get to work with a host of social workers. I get to see the work they do. One social worker who is now retired stands out. Her name, Libby Nicholson. It was Libby who called me out of the blue, invited me to apply for the manager of chaplain services position. I was serving a church in Bellbrook at the time. Wasn't on my radar at all. Literally changed my life. At first I told her no, and then over a weekend God started to aroused my imagination of what that opportunity could be. And I'm fortunate that Libby made that call, and really value the work I'm doing at Dayton Children's. But social workers are making an impact all across our community in incredible ways. Our continuum of care, there's many social workers involved in trying to make sure those who are most vulnerable get connected to the resources they need. And so March is National Social Work Month. And I'd like to commend and celebrate the vital and far-reaching contribution of social workers whose dedication strengthens communities across the great state of Ohio and beyond. Their compassion, advocacy, and unwavering commitment to serving others makes a profound and lasting impact. So thank you to all the social workers, even those who are employed here at the City of Dayton, for the work that they do and the difference they make. It is also Women's History Month. Last night I had the good fortune of being at the League of Women Voters Dangerous Dames banquet. One of the honorees is here. We celebrated her a couple weeks ago, but Mary Sue Miner's here, and she was honored. So congratulations to her and the other women who are recognizing, including Sharon Davies, who's over the Kettering Foundation, who's doing the work with us on that public assembly. So her mission continues to impact the city. Lucy Ann McCoskey, who's a longtime volunteer with the League of Women Voters. Alicia Pagan, who's been one of our grassroots community members making a difference in our community. Bonnie Rice is an honoree who's a friend of the commission in the city. And then Sharon Rabb, who brought us the Dayton Literary Peace Award and her impact to this community. So some amazing Dangerous Dames. And I would encourage you next week, the Dayton Live will be having their Broadway series with a musical called Suffs, which tells the history of the suffragette movement. So there's an opportunity for you to participate in Women's History Month. And then finally, in terms of this moment, in honor of Women's History Month, the Dayton Library will be hosting a celebration honoring 10 outstanding women from diverse backgrounds whose leadership, resilience, and commitment to uplifting others are creating meaningful change in their communities. And this is going to be on Saturday, March 28th from noon to 3 p.m. at the main library in the Eichelberg Forum. And Karen Wick Gagnon will be recognized as a special honoree. So I encourage people to come out and also to honor Karen. And then, as Mr. Elzine was speaking, I was mindful last week, I was having a conversation with the base commander, Colonel Richardson, and it's an odd moment, standing there talking to leader in the Air Force. Here we are in Dayton going to enjoy college basketball and not mindful of our service members who, are participating in what many people believe are a war, but is at least military operations, and their lives are on the line. And there's a wide difference between our experience and our service members, and even a larger distance between our experience and the citizens that Mr. Elzine was speaking of, who are bearing the brunt of violence. And last night at the League of Women Voters, I think it was Sharon Rabb who was talking, and the only path forward out of violence is nonviolence, in an active pursuit of making love real in the world, creating relationships, embodying compassion, building empathy, and closing the gap between these experiences, between my experience and the citizen in Lebanon who's bearing the brunt of violence. And we can do that in this world now. We can communicate and build relationships, and we have our sister city relationships that help to do that. And so, the work of this century is going to be being able to close that gap, human to human. And I'm curious around the proposal around the Peace Summit, because it seems like something that we want to be a part of.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Shaw.
Thank you for that. So I want to thank the Commission for allowing me. Last week I attended the National League of Cities Congressional City Conference in Washington, D.C. And while there, I had the opportunity to advocate for federal bills to make funds for building housing more accessible. provide cities with larger share of federal transportation funding, which is very important, decrease the risk of train derailments, help address the PFAS pollution in water supplies, and reauthorize funds to help cities replace lead pipes, manage stormwater, and support other water infrastructure needs and projects. Also to make disaster funds and relief more accessible. And then reduce the complexity of federal grant applications, which are very complex. In Dayton, we have staff to do that work, but there are other smaller communities around us that simply, although they may qualify for federal funding, just won't take advantage of it because it's too cumbersome. But had great conversations with our entire federal delegation. Really important to bring local funding. Federal transportation dollars and other funding generally goes through the states. And we have proven through our process, thank you, City Manager, that we spend that money much more efficiently and better, put it in the right places, and push it out into the community. And we really should have the opportunity to receive those funding ourselves. We only get about 16% of the money that goes to the state for local communities, and that's unacceptable. So thank you all for letting me do that. I really appreciate that. Also, yesterday I had the opportunity to tour the Dayton Equity Center and learn about their forklift training program, which was really just outstanding. And for those looking to acquire a new skill, you can get paid to learn how to drive a forklift and get a certification and gain connections with employers looking for full-time operators. So you can apply at any time, as they are always accepting applications. And for more information, go to DaytonEquity.org or call 937-716-1098. And that's all I have today. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Just a couple of comments this morning before we go into our work session. Ms. Dixon, could you, if you wouldn't mind, could you just at a very high level just speak to the benefit of us amending Chapter 153 of the revised code as it relates to the building appeals process, which is noted on calendar item, under legislation calendar item number 8?
Sure. This is a process that essentially aligns with state law, but the city doesn't receive any funding or support from the state to do this activity, and it's, not without work and capacity. And so the decision was made to give that process back to the state so that they will manage it. Many of the communities are doing that because it's trying to winnow responsibilities and expand capacity.
And then I'm sure that the process itself, once we pass the legislation, and once an individual, whatever have you, go through the process, then the planning staff will work through them with them to direct them as to what the next steps are and for them to work with the state. I'm just trying to make sure those lines of communication will be clear.
Yeah, there will definitely be clear communications. It's not something that there was a lot of activity around, but we absolutely will make sure at the counter and in our processes it's all well communicated.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Dixon. I appreciate that. Very quickly, I did not mention, and shame on me, the 75th annual Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Debutante Ball, which took place last Saturday. Would like to uplift the work of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority and all the great work that goes along 75 years. That is a testament to the commitment, and it is, in fact, an introduction to young ladies as well as the escorts to the world. And so it is definitely something that is celebrated, and it is a joyous occasion. I believe your daughter was a debutante, is that right? Or
She was.
She was a debutante. I know I was a debutante. Many in the room probably were debutantes, as well as participating in the cotillion as well. So I'd like to just again congratulate all the debutantes. My niece was a debutante, and I was very proud. Journey Berry, as well as many other young ladies. So congratulations to all of the debutantes. And then this Saturday, The 28th is the Jack and Jill Botillion, which would take place, again, this Saturday, 6 p.m. at the National Air Force Museum. So look forward to that celebration as well. And also Saturday morning, the Department of Recreation is doing some great work. They will be hosting the annual Gem City Egg Hunt at Triangle Park. The event starts at 10 a.m. Make sure you get there about 9:30, 9:45, because it is well attended. A number of families come out each year. And again, the event is from 10 a.m. until 12 p.m. with egg hunts beginning promptly at 11 a.m. And we're asking that families come out to join all of the fun, featuring thousands of eggs that are hidden throughout the park, age-specific hunting zones, and plenty of prizes for participants ages 0 to 12. Be sure to arrive early, again, to explore the community resource table and enjoy local food trucks. For more information, please visit DaytonRec.com. That's DaytonRec.com. And I believe those are all the comments that I have. Oh, I'd like to also mention, again, thank you for recognizing the League of Women Voters in the Dangerous Dames. Congratulations, Ms. Mary Suka Minor, as well as Ms. Bonnie Rice and many other of the other Dangerous Dames. The keynote was a hoot. She did an excellent job with her remarks. And also would like to thank Ms. Bonnie Rice. I believe it was 2 weeks ago, I had an opportunity to participate in my first Women's Seder. So that was, in fact, a great experience to have. So I appreciate that opportunity. And with no further business come before the commission, this meeting is now adjourned.